Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, to the third-party engineering and acquisition of British Armour Group. As ever, you have been summoned because the War Office has determined that your companies are those capable not only of building, but also designing from scratch the superior armoured fighting vehicles Britain is going to need to win this war. Now, I warned you last time we met that there would be little time for celebrations once the last of the Jerrys had been pushed back into the sea. So I hope you made the most of the last 2 days, because it's already time to get back to the war effort. North Africa, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, our campaign against the Italians had been going rather well so far, until Rommel and his Africa Corps showed up in February. Since then, things have rather taken a turn for the worse, I'm afraid. Since March, our troops and our Commonwealth allies have been forced back. This has even led to the capture of important officers. The 9th Infantry Division of the Australian Army has fallen back to the fortress port of Tobruk, and our remaining forces have had to withdraw a further 100 miles east to the Libyan-Egyptian border. Tobruk remains under siege by the main Italian-German force. Meanwhile, a smaller enemy battle group has continued to press eastwards, capturing Fort Capuzzo and Bardia along the way. As we speak, they are already advancing into Egypt. The PM and the top brass are, understandably, alarmed by this change in our fortunes. For now, the country is riding high on the euphoria of a victory on the home front. But that will quickly sour if stories of defeat in Africa start to make their way home to roost. The south of England was, until 2 days ago, a hard-fought-over battlefield and bears all the scars one might expect as a result. That's a lot of good farmland that's been torn up and trampled over. Consequently, putting it all right again is going to be a long slog, and one done on an empty stomach for many. Not to mention the long and bloody war that looms ahead of us if we are to liberate our allies and neighbours on the continent. Keeping morale up is going to be just as paramount now as it was in the darkest days of Operation Sea Lion. Field Marshal Wavell, C&C of Middle East, has at least partially blamed having to rely on armoured vehicles which are rapidly becoming obsolete for the German and Italian successes of late. And honestly, he's probably got a point. While the Bosch have been driven out of Britain, with the might of the new Kemp tanks, the Triskele series, the Castellan and others, our forces in the desert have had to make do with whatever else could be spared. The old cruiser tanks are in particular well past their expiry dates, and suffer increasingly poor reliability in the desert to boot. The Matilda II has been doing most of the heavy lifting there so far. I gather the boys call her the Queen of the Desert. But alas, the good Queen's kingdom is now shrinking, and it's time for us to come up with a replacement for her that will ensure victory in North Africa. To that end, the War Office has drawn up the following specification for a general-purpose tank that is better suited to the desert conditions than any of our current options. Wavell has requested better tactical mobility than the Matilda II, but without the reliability problems and weak armour of the cruisers. Firepower must be adequate to handle the up-armoured Panzer IV, arguably the hardest target out there at the moment, and have access to a usable high-explosive round for ousting entrenched anti-tank guns, amongst other things. It's punishingly hot out there too, so your engine and the crew will need plenty of good ventilation to fight at their best. Please bear this in mind as you design. Now, I have arranged for convalescent tank crew members who have been sent home from the front to be attached to each of you for the duration of this project. Please take good care of them, and then in return they will give you first-hand insights on tank warfare in the desert, which I expect to inform your designs. Well, that's about it from me, so please see the following specification. All other parameters are entirely your choice if they are not listed in the specification. Vehicles that do not meet the fixed criteria in any of these categories will be disqualified, scoring 0 for that category. So please do read the specification very carefully before you set to work. Your deadline, ladies and gentlemen, is a week from today, the 2nd of May. I realize that leaves you precious little time, but as I'm sure you can appreciate, the situation in North Africa is already, well, pear-shaped, and getting worse by the day. If we can't get new tanks shipped over there by midsummer, we may well find ourselves staring down outright defeat. Time is of the essence, and we need to get a design into testing and production ASAP. I know you all to be superb engineers, and mercifully this specification demands a relatively conventional tank. So, I have every confidence that you will rise to the occasion, as you always do. If there are no further questions, I won't waste any more of your time talking. You have work to do. Our meeting here is concluded. My friends, I wish you good luck and Godspeed. Hey Sprocketeers, I know. It's the next challenge and there's not been a results video for the last one yet. I apologise. I will grovel more at the beginning of the actual results video, which is coming soon, TM, I promise. Things have just not really been going my way in terms of getting time to work on that, and the process of doing it itself didn't really go according to plan either. And it's just been too long, and I need to get the next challenge out to you guys so that you can get working on it and so that we don't get completely out of kilter with my plan for the challenges moving forward. So here is round 7, and you've got a very short window to work on it. That's entirely my fault because the results video is so late. You should have had the challenge a week ago. But hey, as I said in the introductory video, it's a very conventional tank. It shouldn't be too difficult for you to do. And hey, it's an extra challenge that it's got to be done in a week. But it's going to mean that we can get back on track with timings. The other thing I need to talk about is a couple of changes to the way that the submissions are going to work. First of all, I need to try and make things a bit more streamlined on my end. One of the ways that you can help me with that is by giving me 5 very clear screenshots. You can have the UI on or off, it doesn't really matter, but your tank needs to be as big in the frame as it can be. I need both sides, front and back and top photos that I can use to assess the aesthetics without having to necessarily load up the game. That's going to be really helpful for me. So, the other thing that's really helpful about that is it means that you can use all of the custom decals that you like, and if they don't transfer over or they get missed in the transfer process, then it doesn't matter because I can see them on those pictures. So yes, the big thing is attached to the email that you submit the blueprints in, I need both sides, front, back and top screenshots of the vehicle so that I can see all the details. That would be very helpful. The other thing to mention is I don't think there's any need now to specify the sprocket size. That bug seems to have been well and truly dealt with, but I do still need to know if you want the aesthetic only applique armor option to be on or off. Please put that not only in the email submission, but if you can mention that in the actual name of the vehicle in game, that is super duper helpful for the judging process. I also should clarify, it's going to be in the specification, but I'm going to say it here as well. This challenge will take place in version 0.117 still of the game. We're not going to do it in the experimental branch. It's not stable or bug-free enough to host a competition in, and not everybody knows how to access the betas. So it's going to be in version 0.117 stable branch. I think that's everything I have to mention. If it isn't, I'll have to do it as a separate video. But until the next video, take care out there.